So welcome. This is Football from Divine, and we'll be analyzing the Tottenham 1 Arsenal 4 game. Okay, so basically this game was an amazing game. You had a 5 goal trailer basically. Uh, I would say in the beginning, it was all Arsenal for like the first 10 minutes until the Gyökeres shot that went wide and the um, officials deciding they wanted to stop the game. But up until then, it was all Arsenal. Arsenal were in the ascendant. Arsenal were attacking, and then until when that happened, it kind of gives Spurs a bit of time to process, to sort themselves out and get ready for the press again. So from then till like game minute 25, it was an even game. But the Spurs were coming up, where both midfielders Bissouma and Pap Matassa were really on their game. Bissouma did not give easy lick of space. So did Pap Matassa. So the game started basically in Arsenal was in a 4-2-3-1 and Spurs in a 3-5-2. But it morphed into a Spurs being in a 5-3. It's staggered three and then two attackers. So it was Gray, Paulinho, Dragosin, Van der Ven, and Spence. Simmons was basically on Zubimendi, or Zubimendi was on Simmons. Sa was there to mark easy, and then Bissouma was to track Rice. But I think at some point it kind of switched where Bissouma came over to their side, and then Easy, and then Sa went with Saka. So so the present structures how it looked for both of them. Arsenal basically had a 4-2-4 where the four defenders stayed in a single line, moving up the pitch. They were in a line. Rice and Zubimendi stayed. They didn't really stay close together, but you could clearly see that they were the midfield, just the two of them. And then the attackers were Trossard, Gyökeres, Easy, and Saka. With Easy slightly behind the attacking line. To basically, I would say it was to get cutbacks and for midfield progression, so you could easily drop into the midfield to prevent the midfield overload. So, and you can see with the pressing structures how Colomwani was tasked with basically marking Saliba and Gabriel. Gallagher was to hold out Hincapié and track with Rice, track Hincapié's runs, keep an eye on Rice. Simmons was there to kind of hold Zubimendi accountable. Sa was to follow Easy, follow his runs. Bissouma was to drop into the defensive line if they needed an extra body there. And then with the first goal, what now happened was Saka. So Spence had followed Timber, trying to track Timber. Simmons forgot he was follows Zubimendi out, and Saka got down to the byline, to the wings, and Sa followed him. So Sa followed him, leaving his space in the middle. Was dragged by Saka out wide, and what you could see was Saka trying to dribble past Sa, making a mess of it. Sa making a mistake. The ball goes through Sa's legs. Saka finds the space, runs through, finds a very good cutback, finds it and gives the ball to Easy, where Easy hits the ball magnificently. I think it did bounce off a defender and then came off Easy, and it was a goal. That was the first goal, an amazing goal. And then so basically the way this looks, this is exactly how Arsenal wanted to be. Four attackers in the box, Rice and Zubimendi at the edge of the box in case the ball spills out, and then Gabriel, Saliba, Hincapié, and Timber to make sure there are no counter attacks, nothing of the sort. So the Arsenal second goal, it came from literally Spurs. So Spurs at that point had a back four. They had a back four, and it wasn't awesome. It wasn't a good back four. At some point, it was the four defenders, which was Gray, Dragosin, Van der Ven, and Bissouma being in the defensive line, and they all forgot that they're supposed to not allow the balls crossing. And something I forgot to mention was that anytime Arsenal looked to cross the ball into the middle, Bissouma would run straight into the box, make them six, make them hard to beat, make the crosses hard to make anything out for Arsenal. So when they came up for the second half, and the moment Spurs were not six in that box and we were only four, what clearly happened was that every one of them were lopsided. Something you have to mention is in this game, Van der Ven was not up to par. For some reason, he kept getting on the wrong side of everybody. So for Gyökeres' two goals, no, for Gyökeres' first goal, he was on the wrong side of Gyökeres. For the ball Vicario had to run out to clear with his head, he was on the wrong side of Saka. The run that the second goal Easy scored was Van der Ven on the wrong side of Saka, and then making a mess of it. Saka not being able to shoot, the ball bouncing out to Paulinho. Look, Paulinho showed clearly he's not a defender. He is not a defender. The ball bounced out to Paulinho. Paulinho had absolutely no idea how to deal with it, and just lost his man, lost the ball. The ball hit his leg and straight into Easy's spot. Easy, thankful for the gift, slotted it home. And then we can now. So when Spurs were 2-1 down, we had the Kolomwani goal, which the ref said, oh, he pushed Gabriel. I don't think it was a push. I think that was acting and that was a dive and that should have been a card. Also, when he ran across Mwani, not a foul. Sorry, that was a foul. Should have been blown. The free kick should have been given. If it was a red card, it was a red card. At best, you give it. At worst, you give a yellow card and say, "Oh yeah, it's not professional last man foul," but because of the referee not giving a foul in that moment for clear prevention of goal scoring opportunity because he pulled his shirt. You cannot say he did not influence play. He did influence the play. Then after the Arsenal, when it was 3-1, Igor made a switch. He made a switch to switching it into a 3-4-2-1 kinda, where it was Van der Ven, Dragusin and Gray. He brought in Matistel, it was Matistel, Sarr, Bissouma, and Spence, moving Spence up to the other wing. And that was when this happened, when he did the switch, where it was the 3-4-2-1 with Simmons and Solanke being right behind Richarlison. It was in this sequence of play that we had where Spence got to the corner flag, crossed the ball, and the ball dropped right for Richarlison to flick it on, like flick it into the post. And Raya had the Spider-Man senses, man. That was one of the best saves I've seen Raya make. And it was literally because the ball had gone through his legs and was slowly entering the post. And how he did it, I don't know. But the way he turned around and scooped the ball out the net, that was amazing. So that was one change that immediately affected the game. Then I think around 85th minute, Spurs Tudor was getting very desperate, in need of a change. Maybe two defenders. It became a 2-5-2-1. Sorry, a 2-5-2-1 where it was just Van der Ven and Dragusin, Tel, Sarr, Bissouma, Spence, and Gray. Where Gray was supposed to be operating as kind of like a right wing back, and then Spence would be operating in the right wing. So Solanke dropped deep to keep the hold of Rice. Simmons stayed tight with Zubimendi, and Richarlison was left to deal with everything else. And it was in this exact situation that Gyökeres scored his second goal, because this was when it was just two. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, Dragusin was really good holding Gyökeres down. But as the game waned, once the first half was over, as the game waned, he lost his touch with Gyökeres. Gyökeres kept going into the match. And the second goal was literally Gyökeres bodying both Van der Ven and Dragusin and just slotting the ball in the net. It was a good game. I don't think it had a lot to do with tactics. I think it had more to do with he had a lot more to do with game state and the motivation of the players. Because you could clearly see that when Spurs were up for it in the beginning stages of the match, the first 30 minutes, it was a very tight match. Arsenal scored, they were up for it. Arsenal scored beginning of the second half, it was 2-1, and it was 2-2. And if it had stayed 2-2, it would have been a tighter game, because it's a game more on game state than it is a game of tactics. What worked for Arteta was not he had better presence structure, he had a better formation. He had better players with better motivations, and the Spurs are right now. Is what I would say. So yeah, this is all I could pick up. If you picked up any other thing from the match that I did not mention, please let me know in the comments. Tell me, talk to me about it. We have the United, the Everton v United game today. Let's see how it goes. I really hope we win. So yeah, this was a good one. Have a nice day, everybody.